who better than me?
Welcome back to another special episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid, and my little sidekick, my little co-host, Mbaku Panther's back with me. Again, like and subscribe, hit those notifications just so you get the updates of when the videos is dropping. Only a couple topics to talk about, but a couple big ones. So without further ado, let's get into it. Look, there's no place better to start than the breaking news that happened earlier on today. Frank Warren and Queensberry Promotions won the purse bid for the Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte mandatory WBC title fight, and Frank placed a bid of $41 million and some change. Now Eddie Hearn and Matchroom placed a bid of $32 million, 222,000, something like that. So essentially the bid was beat by just under 9k. Now a lot of people looked at this and they were shocked, like, raw. First of all, where is Frank Warren getting $41 million from? Because his total liabilities within, the Queensberry company's house records, I'm sure the last time I looked, it was like $14 million in £40 million, in liabilities, and like 600,000 or something like that in cash flow. Now it's noted that it came out afterwards that it's in conjunction with Top Rank. So basically the money is being shifted from two different places. You got Queensberry, obviously they got BT Sport offering up a portion of money to them. You're gonna have ESPN and Top Rank also adding some money to that. So it's like almost a collective of people putting a bit of money in each way. Now when you see it on face value, before you get to like the inner workings, the first thing you're gonna think is, raw, how did Eddie get beat out so bad after all the big talking, we're gonna approach this aggressively, and we're gonna make sure Dillian gets what he deserves. And then you're like, raw, and your bid's not even quote unquote competitive with the bid that went. But here's where Eddie's smart, and I feel like Eddie done this on purpose to play games with Frank and Bob. First things first, he knew neither of them would ever allow this fight to happen off of their platforms. They need to be in control of this, especially when there is a quote unquote undisputed fight potentially just around the corner. You can't allow like your cash cow or your player in the race as the A side to go on fight on another platform's promotion or another promotion's platform, however you want to word it. So they had to go aggressive in this bid. Now Eddie kept planting seeds that we're going to make sure, in order for Dillian to get paid what he's worth, we're going to bid aggressive. We're going to put this in motion, and we may not even, someone else might come in and outbid us, but we're gonna make sure that Dillian gets what he deserves. And over the last couple of days, Eddie was saying things like, if they've got a contract already in place with the A side, it will be very difficult for us to maybe win the purse bid, because they can just agree a set fee with Tyson Fury, overbid for the fight, and then essentially get the money back. Now for anyone who doesn't know what that means, that basically means that, say for instance, they wanted to just guarantee Tyson Fury say $20 million, yeah, which is what, roughly about £16.5 million, give or take, maybe a bit less. So you say, okay, Tyson, this is what you're gonna earn for this fight, right? Are you happy with that money? Tyson says, yeah, cool, give me that. Okay, so what we're gonna do to make sure that this fight stays on our platform, you sign this contract right now saying you will get this amount of money for this fight, plus a percentage of whatever revenue comes in from the pay-per-view that we're gonna clearly have for the fight, and that's your guaranteed purse. You ain't gotta worry about anything else. Tyson says, okay, fine. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bid $10 million above what we were planning to bid in the first place. Yeah, in the end we're gonna have to pay the opponent a bit more than we wanted to, but we guarantee that no other promoter is gonna be able to match our bid. And then that excess money, that's the difference between your purse, his purse, and what's left over, just comes back to the company. And that way you get all the home field advantages, and you keep everything on this side of the street. We make sure we take care of you. We get the refs that are most favorable to your style of fighting. We'll get the judges who view you favorably. You know, the whole commentary stick will all be you. All of our programming will basically geared towards you. We'll just, you know, you'll be the special one of the promotion. Okay, cool. So that's how you do it. Now, if you are a competing promoter, especially if you are the one who has the lesser person in the race, a la Eddie Hearn in this case, you then can't do the same thing and overbid for the fight to pay the opponent who is on that 80% at present, to then just to make sure that your guy gets more. See, what you would then try and do is you will say, okay, this fight's worth this amount. Now, if we overpay, that means that we have to give him this. Really, we know you don't want to see him get that amount of money just so you can get that. So what we're going to do is we're going to bid relatively reasonable, but we'll guarantee you a little money on the side that hasn't gone into the bid. So now he's only going to get whatever money he gets. For instance, let's say they only wanted to pay him that same 15 million, for example, or something along those 15 to 20 million. Okay, well, he's gonna get 15 to 20 million, maybe 22. You're gonna get 6, maybe 7 million, and that will make up the purse bid of what, the 30, 31, 32. And realistically, look, we'll chuck you an extra couple of million after the fact, and it's in our contract. You know we're good for it. We've done all this business before. This is how it's gonna work. So that's how you would kind of think. There's no other way. You're not gonna overpay the A side just so your guy can get a bit more. That's just basically how it works. However, what Eddie's done, he's talked it up so much that the other team essentially got scared that they might lose the fight. They had to overpay, which in turn got Dillian Whyte $3 million more than what the original offer was, because I believe it was $5 million that they offered him. I don't think it was pounds. Could be wrong, but if it was pounds, then okay, he got an extra 1.2 million pounds out of them, whereas he said, you know, well, let's start at $10 million and work our way down. But either way, he gets that additional. So yeah, it was smart. Like Eddie essentially played the game well enough to the point where he didn't have to put his hand in his pocket for this fight. Because even though he probably did want the fight on the zone and on the platform, like overpaying, realizing that maybe it may not generate the necessary sign-ups globally and in the UK required to make it, you know, viable financially, probably wasn't going to, you know, wasn't going to make it a smart choice, even if you add the pay-per-view functionality part of the zone, which they've been looking at and talking about doing in recent months. So yeah, that's that part. Now Dillian essentially gets, well, he was supposed to get $8.2 million. WBC then go and do what the WBC do. So of this 80-20 purse, they've taken 10%. So essentially that must work at 5% of each person's initial money. So Dillian now ends up on like 7.4 million and Tyson Fury ends up on like 29.1 or something like that. And they've now said, oh, the winner of this fight is gonna get the additional 10%. So if Tyson Fury wins this fight, the split actually then ends up becoming 85-15 to Tyson Fury. If Dillian wins the fight, then the split ends up being 75-25, which is what Bob Arum initially offered in the first place. So just when you think one team has made the big money grab and sort of made, you know, the smart moves and, you know, robbed the bank, so to speak, and made those slick sideways steps, all of a sudden now the WBC have got it so that the other side is almost like they've leveled up the playing field, because realistically everyone is banking on Tyson Fury to win this fight. So what you're actually trying to do is say that no, we didn't even want to give you 80-20. We really wanted to give you 85-15, and this is the way how we're gonna do it. And I've never seen the law in their, you know, in their rules that says that they can hold 10% and give it as a winner's bonus. I've not heard of that being done with them before. If someone else knows, please put it in the bottom in the comments and tell me when and where, so I can go and do some research on it and address it in a later video. But the we be crooks be we be crooking right about now. Like, so ultimately the only thing that can happen in this scenario to make everything right in the world is for Dillian Whyte to win this fight and at least get the decent amount of split that he should have got from before. I mean, realistically he should have never got less than 30%, but 25% is better than 15, and currently he's sitting on 15. So yeah, that deal, I'm rocking with you. I'm not giving my predictions and how I think the fight's going to go as of yet, but try and know who I want to win this fight is definitely Dillian Whyte, for more than one reason. But yeah, that's how I am going to leave that. But before I end this segment, let me just also address something that I've been asked previously. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a lawyer, but I do certain things I've seen in history, so I can only go off of examples that have happened in the past. So a question that I was asked was, well, what happens if the arbitration happens and Dillian Whyte gets awarded like a larger percentage, and that he's supposed to get more than basically what the WBC mandated for as the split? Well, the way how I understand it is, if the arbitrator rules that the split should have been more favorable to Dillian Whyte, or sure, he should have earned a higher percentage based on whatever factors, then the WBC as an organization are then liable for the additional money. Now, realistically, the WBC can't afford 10% of what an additional 10% of whatever that purse bid was. So my thoughts is that the reason that they've held this 10% aside is because they have a suspicion that the arbitrator is going to rule that Dillian should have been offered a better split from them specifically, whether it's a 70-30 or a 75-25. So with that 10% there, I feel like they may hold it in limbo up until the end of the arbitration, and if Dillian is supposed to have more, then they will pass that 10%, or they will do something with their numbers to make that 10% end up going over to him, plus whatever additional fees are required. And I'm sure that they've probably got insurance now to a point where if the arbitrator rules, they might have something in the insurance that will end up covering the additional money that he would be liable for. Now, the only other way it could work is, even though they're liable for it, because they are not the actual promoter of the event, they may be able to say to the promoter, well, no, this money that you've given to X, Y, and Z, part of it has to now go over to the other side. Otherwise, we can sue you for breach of, I don't know, they would have something in their terms that would say we reserve the right to change this at any time up until 90 days after the fight, or something like that. I'm sure they'll probably have something like that in their contract or in their terms somewhere when you sign up to the WBC. Again, I'm not a legal expert, so don't quote me on that, but that is my thoughts and feelings as to what happens if the arbitrator rules in Dillian Whyte's favor in terms of an increased split on that money. I do believe the WBC are then liable for it, but they may be able to transfer that liability over to the other over to the promoter who hosted the show. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there for the time being. We'll definitely do more on this story at a later date, but I guess tentative congrats are in order for Frank Warren and Bob Arum, because I guess they got to keep the quote-unquote A side on their side. And also congrats to Dillian, who maybe it wasn't as much as he wanted, but still a career high payday. Still going to get a portion of the pay-per-view as well. And if you take that belt, good times. Good times. So the second bit of big news that took place, it occurred Thursday afternoon, is that the big undisputed lightweight women's championship fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano has now been confirmed and will be taking place on the 30th of April at Madison Square Garden, and not the Hulu Theatre, not the small room. It will take place in the main arena. Now, this will definitely be one of the biggest profile women's boxing matches in history, purely because with social media as it is, it can reach a lot more people, a lot more eyes, a lot more countries than any fight that's happened prior. We are building up to a Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall fight as well, but in terms of which fight would be the biggest, this one does end up being the bigger fight, purely because both Taylor and Serrano are more accomplished overall than Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields are. Now, I know someone was going to say, yeah, but Clarissa Shields was undisputed in 3 different weight classes. How can Katie Taylor be more accomplished? Well, at the end of the day, we have to look at who's fighting who and who's in your divisions to fight. And when it comes to the women's divisions, unfortunately, the higher up in weight you go is the shallower the talent pool is. Clarissa Shields in no division has beaten every single champion for her belts. She's won numerous vacant titles which I'm not blaming her for. You can only win you can only win it if it's put in front of you. But you didn't, you haven't necessarily gone around strictly belt collecting. You've maybe had one belt, and then a vacant one's also been added to the mix, because who else is going to hold it but you in those higher weight classes? Basically, that's really the cut and dry of it. So yeah, and this isn't a Claressa Shields bashing video at all. Like, she's an amazing boxer, like, let's not get it twisted. But if we're talking about overall legacy, yeah, she's undisputed in 3 different weight classes. We can give her that. Katie Taylor is like, she went and got every single belt, like one by one, for her undisputed run. Obviously, she's a 2-weight champion as well, and her overall level of opponents have been of a higher standard than Claressa Shields. So that's why on her side, she's comparable with Claressa in terms of being the pound for pound #1, if you put it down to sort of accolades as well as performances in the ring. And on the other side, obviously, Savannah Marshall has got the WBO 160 belt, but that's kind of all she's won. Whereas in Amanda Serrano, as much as a lot of her victories and her title reigns are disputable, because she won, I think, 8 vacant titles. She's a 7-weight champion. I think she's a 9-time champion, and of those 9, I think 7 is between 6 and 7 of them were vacant titles. She's not beaten many reigning champions for the belts that she's held, but the fact that you've reigned in 7 different divisions has to give you more credibility than someone who's reigned in 1 and who didn't beat the champ for the belt in the first place. It was a vacant title. So yeah, that's why that fight ends up being the #1 in the women's division. I'm looking forward to it. Closer to the fight, I will again be giving I'll definitely do a breakdown of how I feel that fight's going to go. But anyone who wants a quick preview of that can go over to Maestro's Boxing's channel, or Maestro, however you want to pronounce it. I was on the round table with him, Joe Habib, D-Style Boxing, and a couple other guys. I think it was Sean and Manny, I believe their names were. We was basically discussing, so I gave a little bit of an example of how I feel the fight will go and who I feel would win. So you can go and check that out on his channel for if you want to know sort of quick thoughts on it. I will give like I said, I'll give a breakdown later on, closer to the fight. But I'm definitely happy that it's going to be in the big arena. I'm hoping that you get 1 or 2 other sort of big female fights on the card as well. I'm hoping maybe Alicia Baumgardner as a co-main event, or maybe just the fight before the co-main, just to make sure she's got her eyes on her in a nice big fight. Maybe the unification with Hyun Mi Choi, and if not that, then just like a good solid defense against someone that's credible, but that she can also look good against, so she can talk her shit, get more eyes on her and build up for that ultimate unification with Hyun Mi Choi to then go into the undisputed fight with Michaela Mayer. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to be keen to see how how that card shapes up. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, and I'll be reporting on fights as they get added, and I will be seeing how things sort of pan out with that. And overall, pretty much all I've got to say about that, to be honest. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I'm going to end this one here, and I may end up doing a video on Sunday, because there is a specific card that is on. I can't really say much about it, because from what I've been told, if I say certain things or make certain mention, I might get hit with copyright strikes. I'm not even big enough to get copyright strikes as far as I'm concerned, but you never know, because one of my previous videos actually got copyrighted for some of the music that I used in it, hence why you haven't heard that music since. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Possibly there will be a Sunday service, as we're gonna now sort of christen it. But if not, you'll definitely get another video by Monday, Tuesday, especially if something juicy pops up. But for right now, your boy Bass the Kid with the co-host Mbaku Panther, we are gonna bid you adieu, and the Hardcore Casual out.